Hi, so today I will talk about what I know about interviewing people and how to have a successful interview. So, more than likely, there are different ways okay, let me start over. There are different ways to interview people. And it kind of depends on what story you're trying to get. If you are covering an event, more than likely you're going to be interviewing people there at the event, so it'll be really quick. If you're going to have a more in-depth interview, you'll probably be sitting down. You need to organize a quiet place where you can both sit, or you can have a phone conversation with someone. Set up a time for that. But the most important thing for all of those different types of settings is coming prepared with questions to ask. So you need to do some research ahead of time. You need to know what you need to find out from these people and have a list. I like to write a list out and have it handy so that I can jump to these questions whenever I need to. It kind of makes sure it keeps me accountable so I don't forget anything that I need to get. So yeah, if you're writing like a feature article, you'll more than likely be talking to someone one-on-one for a specific amount of time. Make sure that they know how long it will take approximately. I like to tell people, like, you can plan for 30 minutes, and if they get talking and if they want to explain more or elaborate more, then that can go longer, but that's their choice. Just be respectful of their time, and sometimes people can get talking for quite a while, so it's always wise to, if you have some place that you need to be later, let them know so you're not cutting them off mid-story. But yeah, I'd say the most important thing is coming prepared with questions. So sometimes you need to ask follow-up questions, and those aren't necessarily written down on your list of questions. And this requires good listening skills. So you need to be actively listening so when they tell you something and you want to find out more, that you're ready to ask. So some follow-up questions might include the specific names of places that they talk about, the specific names of people. You need to get the details, you need to get the specifics. So ask the right follow-up questions. And sometimes there are doors that they introduce you to that they might not necessarily open unless you ask them to. So they might briefly mention how they, like, this past year of their life, they did this, 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 and this, and they also ran a race. And you might be interested to know what race they ran and what time they got or what was the race like. So don't be afraid to take a different route if you feel like you should. But that's totally up to you. Also, something that's really important is if you're interviewing someone and they're explaining an idea that's complex or they're explaining a situation, something that happened, you need to reflect back to them what you understand. So you make sure that you get it right, because you're not writing, when you're typing a story, you're not, it's what you remember from what they told you. It's not the other person writing it. It's what you remember. So you need to make sure that you understand correctly. And if you don't understand it correctly, reflecting back to them what you do understand gives them a chance to correct it and clarify. So I think that is a very, very, very important aspect of interviewing, especially if it's a complex idea or topic. Always make sure that you get their first and last name written down correctly. Spelling is everything. Spelling is key. Also, you have to include their title or position and make sure that's written down correctly too. So there's several different ways you can do it. You can ask them to write it down for you, give them a pen and paper, have them write their first and last name down in their position, or you can just ask them to spell it. It just depends on the person, but if it's somebody that is widely known, you should already know ahead of time. But yeah, a tool that is very helpful with the interviewing process is it's an app called Audio Note. So it records your interviews, and you can type and add notes to it too, and it will put a timestamp next to that note. So if the person is talking about the dog park, you can just type dog park, and it puts it in this note, and it puts a timestamp next to it, so you can jump immediately to that point in the interview, because it can be very tedious to go back and re-listen to an entire interview, because sometimes they can be long, and sometimes the information in it isn't all good information. Like, it can be fluff. So yeah, writing kind of an outline as you interview them, it can be really, really helpful. I found it very helpful for me. A press pass can make you appear more legitimate. I usually just put mine in my back pocket, and if I needed it for any reason, I could bust it out, but normally I didn't. But yeah, I think that's everything. Just make sure that you have a quiet place, that the person feels comfortable, and that you're confident in asking your questions. Be respectful and just be inquisitive. I think that's the biggest thing, and you'll come out with a good story.